Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review. In this episode, Public Domain Madness number 2, White Pongo. Also known as White Ponga when the characters use that word, but what the heck. Hi there, welcome back to the Apatros Review, your guide to the wild world of science fiction action horror. All from my personal collection. I'm your host, Mila Sipka. Now, this is the second episode of my 13-part episode of Public Domain Madness. Of course, it says PD Madness, and that's what you should check for. A series which I'm starting off 2021 by reviewing 13 public domain films. And none of these films I'm going to review the DVDs of because they're all public domain. Usually the DVDs that you get of these are usually really cheap and really bad quality. They're also all on YouTube, by the way. Now, White Pongo was a jungle adventure film made in 1945. It actually was premiered in the US on the 10th of October 1945. It was directed by Sam Newfield, who worked in a lot of schlocky westerns and genre films at that time. Now, my review print of this film was part of the Sci-Fi Classics 50 movie mega pack, released sometime in 2005 by Payless Entertainment. Now, Payless Entertainment is basically a dirt cheap bargain basement label that released public domain films in the Australian market, and they released around 2005. They released a bunch of these public domain multi-packs, and that was it. There were no other multi-packs of this kind ever released since then. Of course, in America, we have Mill Creek Entertainment. They put plenty of those out. Anyway, now for the story. After an explorer manages to reach civilization but dying before he can explain his story, the diary he was carrying with him, and by the way, he did make some last words, something about White Pongo. Now, the diary he was carrying with him is used as a basis for a group of explorers to head out, and this is actually set in Rhodesia, which was basically present-day Zimbabwe. And these explorers head out to find the legendary White Pongo, a rare albino gorilla that seems to have more intelligence than ordinary gorillas, and also having a serious nasty streak. But the expedition is headed for trouble when the guide they hired turns out to be a German criminal who has a penchant for robbing and murdering his clients in order to stash up their supplies for himself, so he can mount his own expedition to rob a nearby gold mine. But as the criminal guide works his plan to action, one of the riflemen hired for the expedition turns out to be an undercover investigator on his case, and attempts to foil the plan also to impress the sole female member of the expedition, who seems to be in love with him. And the White Pongo has also been stalking the expedition with a serious hot to the chick as well. Anyone who's seen King Kong can spot the problems of the attraction well off, and this gorilla is normal sized. Now, well, my synopsis seems to have already jumped the gun in the review itself with the sarcasm at the very least. The White Pongo, an ultra-cheap jungle adventure helmed by the ever-dependable poverty row hack Sam Newfield, who made a real shitload of cheap adventure yarns, thrillers, and westerns over that period, turns out to be one of the worst of its formidably bad type of ilk. The premise, that the missing link in mankind's evolution turns out to be nothing more than an albino ape with a bad temper and killer attitude, is atrocious 1940s jungle bunk at its worst. I'm not a member of the cult of 2017, that's the socialist woke crowd, but I can still see this was a very racist production. The black-haired porter is named Mumbo Jumbo. I'm not kidding. And the very fact that the genetic anomaly of an ordinary gorilla happens to be smarter than normal gorillas is also very bigoted towards gorillas. In reality, gorillas are already very smart and majestic creatures, who deserve more respect than what they received in the mid-1940s. Anyway, if you want to waste your time watching this awful piece of public domain jungle junk, then by all means do so. Every film has its fans, but just keep my words in mind because of this film. The twist in the climax of the supposedly sloppy and secretive rifleman is actually an undercover cop out to stop the corrupt guy from murdering his clients was a pretty decent twist. But aside from saving the day and playing tonsil hockey with the damsel in distress, who was secretly planning to use him for personal use, but his bravery sealed the deal anyway, there's admittedly not much for him to do. This is a bad case of racist 1940s jungle jam jackshit. There is no gore nudity in this film. Now, White Pongo rests at the bottom of the grading scale of the dread D-, 1 out of 10. It is a terrible film. So, that's the second of the public domain films I'm reviewing as part of this series. There's 13 of them in total, and that leaves about 11 more to go. Now, a little thing about these public domain films is, now the quality of White Pongo is pretty bad, like most of the public domain prints, just like mediocre at best. Sometimes they're taken from old film reels, sometimes from worn VHS tapes. In my case, it looks like they took it off an old film reel. Okay, and it's also on YouTube, so you can find it. Actually, I did check of it a couple of nights ago, and it's actually there. Actually, there's a couple of copies on it. So if you want to watch it, go ahead. I mean, if you're a fan of it, then that's fine. But to be honest, and by the way, all the girls are played by actors in suits, which is typical Hollywood behavior for all these decades. So White Pongo, or White Ponga as they actually call it, D-, 1 out of 10. It's atrocious. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Now, by the way, these public domain films, I'm actually doing them in order from when they were released, and the next film I'm going to review is Prehistoric Women, but just check my episode promo for that. Hope you guys are staying safe. Take care. The pandemic it's getting towards the end of it, but as long as until we get the vaccines, it's still going to go on. Hope you guys are staying safe, and that's it for this review. What the hell?